The 18 Strong Podcast, episode number 182, with Dr. Melvin Deese and Evan Hugall from Imapct Cryotherapy.
The athlete's always looking for a better way to warm up, a better way to rehabilitate, a better way to get in shape, some way to get that little extra edge, so that they can last longer on the golf course. They can exercise a little bit longer. And once they're tired, they get to recover faster. And the cryotherapy has been revolutionary.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzero.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where this week we're going to talk all about cryotherapy, or specifically, we're going to talk about cryotherapy chambers or tanks and whole body cryotherapy. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll kind of explain it a little bit more in the episode. But you may have seen on social media or just online these very futuristic looking, almost science fiction looking tanks where you actually step into it. Your head is above the tank and your head is out, and the tank surrounds you with nitrogen, and the nitrogen can get extremely cold. I know I was able to try this out just this past week. And the tank that I was in, they put me on level 2, which got it to 165 degrees below zero. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, and it's still kind of crazy to me that it gets to that temperature. But Dr. Deese in this episode will kind of explain the physiology of what's going on and how it can get to that cold of temperatures and not cause any significant damage. So this week, as I mentioned, we're talking to Dr. Melvin Deese and Evan Hugall from Imapct Cryotherapy. And Dr. Deese is an orthopedic surgeon who has worked with athletes from the highest level to your weekend warriors and to non-athletes. And he's trained with some of the world's most notable sports medicine specialists in the world, like Dr. James Andrews, very good friend of his, and has really worked with a ton of athletes. He's a very good friend, personal friend of Davis Love, and has worked with him for many years. He co-founded the Georgia Society of Ambulatory Surgery Centers and was a charter member of the American Sports Medicine and Fellowship Society. So obviously a guy that knows his stuff, has been around athletes, has worked with athletes and weekend warriors, pretty much everybody in almost every capacity when it comes to orthopedic sports. And then Evan is the senior sales specialist for Imapct Cryotherapy and is kind of the golf specialist. He played a very high level golf. He knows a lot of the guys, especially the guys down in Sea Island, which they affectionately refer to as the Sea Island Mafia. And we talk about all the guys that are using their units, why they're using them, and even what their kind of schedule of use looks like. Just a few things that we're going to cover in this episode are first, just what is cryotherapy? Why would we use it? We've all been taught that we should use ice packs on injuries. We kind of discuss whether that's the right thing to do. I know we've had an episode on the show before discussing the use of ice in injuries. That was episode number 114 with Gary Reinl, if you want to go back and listen to that one. But we kind of discuss in this episode a different modality of why we would be using ice. Contrast baths and ice baths have been used for a long time in the athletic world to get rid of soreness, to improve performance, and basically kind of get rid of lactic acid is the thought of it, to make the athletes more fresh even after hard training sessions. And so we discuss with Dr. Deese the physiology of what's going on, what are the effects, and what are the benefits, and are they better than an ice bath, or how do they differ from what an ice bath is? And then we also talk about, all of these golfers, why are they using it? Why have they grasped onto it? And how do they use it? Are they using it before the rounds, after the rounds, before training, after training? So Evan kind of gives us a little breakdown of, what he's seeing as far as the most use from these guys and how are they using them when they're on the road. So a lot of these guys will actually find locations in the area around a tournament they're at in order to be able to get their cryotherapy sessions. And then, of course, is this something that's going to benefit you, the regular golfer, just like me? Is it something that's going to help you in your training sessions, your game of golf? So is it really something that you should seek out in your local area? I have to say, I had a chance to go and try out the cryotherapy unit, and you're going to hear me talk about this in the episode as well. And I want to say a quick thanks to Mark from Stretch U and Cryotherapy here in St. Louis. He offered me the ability to go to his facility and go through the cryotherapy session. It was just a 3-minute session. That's all it takes. and I was at level 2. I think it was negative 165 degrees that it got down to. And now that I'm a couple days out from the session, I can honestly say that I really do think that it had an effect on the amount of soreness that I was expecting from the workout that I did. I did a very heavy lower body workout, and it was a new training program. And so I was expecting to be pretty sore over the next 24 to 48 hours. And I have not experienced that. So not sure if that's 100% due to cryotherapy or maybe a placebo effect, but definitely something worth looking into. So I have to say thanks to Mark for letting me try that out. And for anyone here in St. Louis that is interested in trying out the cryotherapy, Stretch U and Cryotherapy on Manchester Road in the Brentwood area. Mark said that you can come on in, mention the 18 Strong podcast, and he'll give you a session for $20, which is a steep discount. So by all means, take advantage of it. All right, let's jump into this episode with the gentleman from Imapct Cryotherapy, Evan Hugall, and Dr. Melvin Deese. All right, Dr. Deese and Evan, welcome to the 18 Strong podcast. Thanks so much for joining me this week so we can talk a little cryotherapy and what's going on in the golf world with all these guys using it and kind of see it all over social media and everything, but also to dig in behind the scenes on what the science is behind it and why people are using it. So first of all, thank you both for your time.
Glad to be here.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So first, I think, Evan, I'm going to let you field this question first and foremost, because just to give a general idea for the audience, the term cryotherapy, they may or may not have not heard. And most of the people that we're talking to are golfers themselves. We've got a lot of trainers and medical professionals on the line as well. But I know that the golfers are the ones that we want to really kind of educate here. What is cryotherapy? When somebody hears that, normally I think they think just general ice. But we're going to talk today a little bit about something a little bit different than what they may have seen. So if you could kind of just expand a little bit on, cryotherapy and what the cryotherapy chambers are.
Sure. The term cryotherapy simply means cold therapy. But when we start talking about whole body cryotherapy or partial body cryotherapy in a cryosauna like what we manufacture at Imapct, what we're doing is we're taking or utilizing liquid nitrogen, turning that liquid nitrogen into a dry, cold gas form, and we're exposing the body to and essentially hypercooling the body for short experience, 2 to 3 minutes. And from my personal experience and my background, utilizing it at the end of my golf career, it is subsequently the evolution of cold therapy. It allowed me to utilize whole body cryotherapy as opposed to an ice bath or a cold tub and cold water immersion. And I feel like from an athletic recovery standpoint, it's far superior. I recover at a much quicker rate. And it also helps me sleep very well at night as well.
Awesome. And Dr. Deese, I want to kind of ask you a little bit on the science side and how you've used just cryotherapy in general in your practice. So first of all, if you could give us a little background, just a little bit on your career and the things that you've done and people you've worked with, and then we'll kind of dig in a little bit on the science behind this whole thing.
Sure. I'm fortunate to have been in practice of orthopedic surgery for approximately 30 years. I was introduced to this by a fellow you may have heard about by the name of Dr. James Andrews. He was my mentor and continues to be a good friend and mentor in orthopedics and sports medicine. He's on the board of this company and is so enamored with it. They have one there at Alabama Sports Medicine, and it's Andrews Sports Institute. So we're really happy about that. I've been involved with athletes literally my entire career, and before I was ever a doctor with Dr. Andrews. And so I've been witness and part of taking care of athletes at a high level for a long time. We're always looking for, and the athletes are always looking for a better way to warm up, a better way to rehabilitate, a better way to get in shape, some way to get that little extra edge, so that they can last longer on the golf course. They can exercise a little bit longer. And once they're tired, they get to recover faster. And the cryotherapy has been revolutionary. A lot of guys used to use ice baths, but an ice bath will go to 32 degrees. Cryotherapy goes to 220 below zero. It's only for 2 or 3 minutes, but the impact you have going that low just for 2 or 3 minutes really kicks in the endorphins, kicks in the cytokines that are healing hormones in your body, and it has been a tremendous benefit. I've seen professional athletes we've had come in, we've been doing demos, and they'll walk into what we call the booth and look at it, kind of scratch their head and say, well, yeah, I want to try it. I've had this pain in my hip for 6 months, and it's not making this up. It's an anecdote that occurred. This guy had a hip pain for 2 years, and he'd been limping, and he got in it, did 2-minute treatment, walked out and walked 18 holes of golf and said, I didn't limp a step. I want to get back in it right now. And that's the kind of stories we're getting from people who are really interested in performing at the top of their game, and they keep coming back.
And so how is this, because you mentioned that, it's different than an ice bath, and, we've all heard about icing for injuries and things like that. And I know that there's a big swing kind of in the pendulum of using ice for acute injuries or using it for long-term inflammation and things like that. How is this different, and what's kind of the process of what's going on in the body that's actually different than an ice bath or simply using an ice pack on an injury?
Very good question, and very a common question. If you think about it, ice, it only goes to 32 degrees, and that's as cold as it can get. When farmers are expecting a big hard freeze, 10, 20 degrees, what they do? They spray their crops with water, because the ice freezes and it stays at 32 degrees. That's as cold as it can get. Well, the benefit you get from going to 32 degrees is it prevents some of the swelling. It kind of numbs you up a little bit. It doesn't hurt quite as badly. When you go to 220 degrees for 2 or 3 minutes, you get this hormonal surge of endorphins. You get things called cytokines and interleukins that actually or stimulate neurotransmitters to block pain, to clean up or cure inflammation, to do things that help you get rid of the biochemical aspects of your body that's in recovery, so that you recover faster. You have less pain. If you do it before you work out, you get a better workout. You can work out after, you recover from it, you sleep better that night. That's the science behind what's happening. And the difference is ice can't get close to this low temperature that will stimulate that kind of hormonal reaction. It just really just cools your skin and prevents some swelling. I've never seen anybody get out of an ice bath after 30 minutes and say, boy, that felt good. They hate them. They hate those things. And 2 or 3 minutes of this, and yeah, it's cold, but then it's over. And it's almost euphoric.
Yeah, the ice bath, because I can remember playing soccer, and we would have these 3-a-day practices in August, and it was just miserably hot, and you're so sore and everything. And so you take the ice baths, and I can remember how brutal they were, and you get out and you're just stiff as a board. But I had the chance to actually go and test one of these cryochambers, thanks to Evan setting me up with Mark here at Stretch U in St. Louis. And it was definitely an interesting experience. I was expecting it to be way worse than it was. I mean, you get in, you're cold, and it's 3 minutes, and you're kind of like waiting for that timer to click down. But when you get out, you're right. You don't feel frozen. You don't feel like if you're in ice, I mean, your muscles are frozen. You can't bend your hands. You can't move your toes. This was a totally different experience, and you can feel kind of the blood rushing back to your skin. And the way that as I've done some reading, the thing that kind of made sense to me was it's almost like the chamber makes your body kind of think that it's freezing to death. So your blood is then kind of shunted back to your internal organs. Is that where the hormonal response comes from?
There's no way to prove that, but physiologically that makes a lot of sense, because you immediately go to this clamshell type physiology, so that you're shunting your blood back to your cleansing organs and your vital organs. And then when you step out, you get this rush. It comes back out to the peripheral, to the arms and muscles in your legs and arms. So that's in large part what it does. And
so kind of shifting gears to the golf world, I know that both of you guys are very entwined in the golf world. I hear, Dr. Deese, you're a golf nut, is what Evan tells me. So how has this and why has this really kind of been taken so swiftly into the golf world? What are these guys seeing, and how are they using it also? I'd like to know.
Well, Evan can tell you probably more of the guys who use it actively than I can. I can tell you ones that I know by our company reports and personal experience, like a Jordan Spieth. Jordan uses it routinely. Recommendation of his trainer and his doctor, uses it before and after he works out, because of the things we just talked about. Even if they don't have an injury, they like to get in there because they're able to perform better following the treatment. If they have a pain, the pain is gone. for several hours after the treatment. And then when they get back in, they recover and feel fine. They can go on about their regular activities and do what they need to do. If they do a treatment after a round of golf, they can then go out and practice longer. They can go hit some balls after playing, and they don't feel tired. It's just another recovery method. Davis Love is a personal friend and a patient, and he's used it and great results with it. We have Zach Johnson back home. He's a big fan of cryotherapy and use it for the same reason. And you just see players time and time again saying, I'm going to come to this tournament. Do they have a cryotherapy unit at this club? Or is Imapct Cryo bringing a cryotherapy box there for us, that kind of thing. If they get used to it, they love it.
Sure. And so, Evan, you guys can actually portably bring a cryo chamber to different facilities, different clubs, and do some of these guys even have them in their house now?
We try to stay away from personal use, just dealing with the nitrogen. But yes, I guess late 2013 through 2014, we actually had one of our prototype units in the back of a Mercedes Sprinter van, and drove just about everywhere in the United States of America, providing demos at either athletic professional institutions or college campuses, along with a couple of different PGA Tour events, like formerly the Modality down on Sea Island, along with the event at the Greenbrier Resort. And we had a line of PGA Tour professionals waiting to come in, using it prior to them going out for a practice round or a warm up, and even during the round, pre and post round, and just had nothing but positive feedback from the guys. They were chomping at the bit to get in. And then another individual who's I think a close friend of 18 Strong, Dr. Troy Van Deesen. He sits on our board and actually has one of our systems. He's on our board and a client at his facility in Dallas, and utilizes that as part of his PGA Tours and players, along with a lot of the other professional athletes in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I know Dr. Deese mentioned Jordan Spieth, but Jordan uses it quite regularly, specifically when he's coming back for an event, coming home to Dallas. That's part of his recovery regimen of resetting and getting back and getting ready for the next event. Several of the PGA Tour web players and mini tour players that live and practice at Sea Island. Sea Island's another client of ours, and they utilize the cryotherapy quite religiously down there as well. We're always getting calls from Troy when he's out on the road at events saying, hey, my guys are begging for cryotherapy. Where's the closest Imapct unit? So we're constantly pointing them in the right direction and setting up times for the pros to get in there. And then we also have a retail commercial client down in Auburn, Alabama, where Jason Duffner's a regular member at when he's at home, utilizing the therapy, and he seeks it out from event to event, as well as I've seen several images of Scott Stallings out there utilizing cryo.
Very nice. Let me just hop in here real quick and say thanks to our sponsor for this week's episode, which is Super Speed Golf. And if you're not sure what Super Speed Golf is, or you haven't heard of Super Speed Golf, all you have to do this week is watch the Golf Channel, and you'll see clip after clip after clip, because they keep showing Phil Mickelson using these things on the driving range at the WGC event that he just won. And obviously there's a reason why guys like Phil are using it. Hundreds of tour professionals, PGA, LPGA, and thousands of golfers across the world are using this system. It's basically 3 different clubs, 3 different weights, slightly different, that are going to help you not only swing faster, but create better balance and rotation in your swing, and allow you to generate more power, more distance, but eventually with less effort. So go to superspeedgolf.com, browse around, look at their different products, because they have different sets for juniors, for women, for men, and then they've also got a smaller kids version that apparently is doing phenomenal things for a lot of the younger junior players. So go to superspeedgolf.com and be sure to use the code 18STRONG to get your discount. And so how many different chambers do you guys have across the states? And are these mainly going in medical facilities, or are they also going in fitness facilities? I know the first time I saw them was, I think, through Troy a picture of his at his clinic, and then obviously Don Saladino up at Drive 495. I know he's got one of your units as well. So are they going into both fitness facilities? Are they going into also like massage places, or what are the main clienteles as far as from the business standpoint?
All of the above. All of the above. We've been very fortunate as the American manufacturer to install just over 500 units now in and around the U.S. And our clients are a variety of different individuals. We have several entrepreneurs that are starting kind of these de novo retail cryotherapy/wellness facilities that are popping up all over the country. A lot of fitness centers, like our good client Don. Don's a great guy up at Drive 495 in New York. If anybody's ever in the New York market, they need to go check out his facility, along with a lot of health professionals, whether they be sports chiropractors like Dr. Troy, a lot of physical therapists, some pain management clinics, also massage facilities and spas. We just recently installed with the Albany Club down in the Bahamas where Tiger has his event. And it's a part of their spa/fitness offerings down there. And then we're very heavy in the athletic world with several college and professional organizations in the MLB, NHL, NFL that are adding in our units in-house, and they're managing it, and their athletes are recovering faster and seeing a lot of benefit from the therapy.
And Dr. Deese, as far as protocols and how often to use it, or when, like if somebody was to go in for the first time. So I just went in yesterday, had my first session, and I'm really kind of excited to see over today and tomorrow, this 48-hour period. I did a very strong leg workout yesterday that I know I would normally be pretty sore from over the course of the next 48 hours. I'm excited to see how that plays out as I continue to see how the body is adapting to that. When do people start to notice these kind of the feelings or the effects or the benefits from the cryotherapy, and what's kind of optimal usage?
Most people feel the benefit immediately. When they first get out, they'll feel it the first day. If they get in and then go play around the golf, they'll feel better. But it does seem to be cumulative, and we don't have a scientific explanation for that, except that perhaps once you get these endorphins and these neurotransmitters stimulated and they're in your system, maybe you're stacking them up. You know, they're in there flowing around and they're providing some benefit, and the next day you stimulate more, and it does become cumulative. People who use it every day, the day of tournaments, will feel better each day, and as I said earlier, they'll recover from their practice and recover from the round faster, and they sleep better because they're not so sore, they're not so painful, they're not so inflamed. And then they'll get up the next day and do it again for performance reasons. They perform better because of these endorphins. So there's no real limit. You're not putting anything foreign in your body. Everything that you're getting the benefit of, your body's producing on its own. We limit people from getting in it in less than 4 hours from the previous treatment, simply as an overabundance of caution to make sure that there's no adverse effect from that exposure to that cold, although we've never seen any. It's just trying to be, as safe as we can be. But you can do this every day with no adverse side effects. And maybe there are some, but we don't know what that. We've never seen any.
And as far as the time parameters and everything, I think is 3 minutes the longest somebody will be in there. And how, again, what's the temperature that they can get down to?
Our standard protocols, everybody that starts is going to receive a 2-minute level 1 session. We cool the system utilizing, we measure temperature at 2 points, the primary and then the kind of the true temp. There's a second thermometer that's measuring what the client's actually experiencing. So we're cooling each session utilizing right around negative 190 Celsius. In Fahrenheit, anywhere from negative 300 to negative 305. And then what the client's actually being exposed to is going to range between negative 90 Celsius and then negative 130 Celsius.
Gotcha. And as far as the body temperature itself, how much does that change, like the core temperature of the person? Because I know in an ice bath, I would assume the body temperature decreases quite a bit, but this is a little bit more of a surface cooling. Is that correct?
You don't get a lot of core temperature changes, maybe a degree or so. But what you're doing is getting the central nervous system response to this environmental cold, this environmental super cold. And it just says, wow, we're in something different here. Let's get this stuff cooking and protect the important stuff, and that's when you get all these reactions going on.
Sure.
But your core temperature doesn't have to change.
And Dr. Deese, I know we talk a lot, we hear the term inflammation all the time, and it kind of seems like it's being overused these days, and just kind of anybody can say, well, this causes inflammation, that causes inflammation. How do we really measure what inflammation is, and how do we know that this is actually decreasing it? What's kind of the objective measure there?
Well, it's hard to tell you how to measure it, but let me just give you an example of how this all got started, and then what you and I as golfers and athletes do in the course of getting ready to play. This technology was developed by rheumatologists in Japan in the 70s, and he did it specifically with the idea that this would help his patients with rheumatoid arthritis. Arthritis, by definition, is inflammation of a joint. Arthur is a joint, itis is inflammation. And he said, if I can get them in a cold enough environment, they'll feel better. It will react and suppress that inflammation. And in fact, it worked. It worked miraculously, and they're still doing it today. It just took 30 years to get this over into Europe and get some popularity, and then just in the last 5 or 10 years in the United States. So by experience, using patients who actually have the most severe kind of arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, we found that they had great benefit. They were much more functional. They had much less pain in those joints. And it also worked for people with degenerative and osteoarthritis. So what about the people who say, well, my muscles have arthritis? Well, you don't have arthritis in your muscles, you have it in joints. But your muscles ache because of the lactic acid that you get. And for some reason, you seem to suppress that lactic acid production, or you recover from the lactic acid production by getting in this cold environment, because that's what makes your muscles hurt, dehydration and production of lactic acid. And it cures it faster, and way faster and better than an ice bath can.
Gotcha.
That's the chemical part of why you feel differently.
Sure. Are there any contraindications on certain people that maybe shouldn't, or that you kind of warn them to maybe not jump right into the cryotherapy, or anything that people need to be aware of?
The things that are most dangerous would be if you had some sort of a peripheral vascular disease, so that the blood vessels in your fingers or your toes were not as good as they should be. Raynaud's disease. Some diabetics have distal circulation problems. If you know you have circulatory problems in your feet or in your legs, you want to get passed by your doctor to make sure it's okay for you to get in there. But we make sure that people get in with these double and triple layer boots, as you experience. You cover your toes and your hands as well if you want to. And most people take their hands out of the box. But other than that, there's no major contraindication.
And have there been any studies of people that maybe do have peripheral circulatory issues? I'm curious if this could even help stimulate an improvement in that kind of stuff. Do you know if there's any studies regarding that?
I don't know of any studies that have ever been done to study the benefit of super cold on dysvascular legs or fingers, because it's kind of scary. If you shut them down and they don't recover, you can lose a finger or something. So there's not many people willing to get in there and try that to test that. So let me just give it a shot.
Yeah.
But most people have a pretty good idea of how severe their vascular disease might be, and can be a good judge of whether or not to get in. If they don't know, we just ask them to get a clearance from their doctor to come in.
Sure. And while I have you here, I'm curious to hear your answer to this regarding the use of topical ice for acute injuries, or even people that have maybe more chronic injuries. But typically you get sore knees or whatever, and people just automatically throw an ice bag on it. What's your response to that? Is that something that you're seeing change or continual use in practice? What's the trend that you're seeing?
No, that's still the right thing to do. The ice does have the benefit of keeping the swelling down in the joint, reducing the pain in the joint. And if you can do that, if you can reduce the swelling, reduce the pain, and make sure that they don't have a bad injury, you can let them start moving it faster, then everything's better. So the ice immediately after an injury is still good.
How long would you say somebody is to continue to use that? Because I know from my experience and what I've seen as a physical therapist, but also what I've kind of learned in recent years is that movement is really what is ending up helping to kind of push some of that swelling through the lymphatic system and get that out. But how long is the right amount of time to maybe use an ice pack if somebody does? And I know that there's a huge pain relieving effect to the ice as well. How long would you recommend there?
We generally ask them to put it on for 15 or 20 minutes and then come out of it for another 45 or 50 and then put it back on for 15 or 20. And everybody's a little bit different and every injury is a little bit different, but that's a guideline. You know, you're not going to do any harm, and you can have them move it about as much as they're comfortable doing in the interim.
Gotcha. Thanks. Just wanted to kind of get your opinion there. Evan, regarding the cryo units, I know that there's a lot of trainers, therapists, medical professionals listening. If they were interested in kind of getting in touch with you guys, what's the process look like to get something like that put into a clinic?
We try to make it very, very easy on all of our clients. Since we're using liquid nitrogen, we've identified that as the main variable in the beginning. So we put a laser focus in on building the strongest gas partners across the U.S. market. So that process typically starts with having one of our gas providers come out to their facility, do a site evaluation, check off the box so we can get nitrogen in there. And then we have a full service team of project managers that will help with all the pre-installation needs. So they were meeting all the, city and compliance types of things. And we can turn around the unit in 7 to 10 days and have a client up and running successfully with our standardized training and installation program. It's a 2-day course. And then we have a full service team of back-end support, which is a full-blown service team that's very, very responsive in a matter of minutes. If we're having any kind of issues with the equipment, we have marketing support. We have a outstanding marketing program, and then also our account management program that stays with all of our clients through the life of the business.
Perfect. Awesome. And I'll have this linked up in the show notes so everybody can get in touch with you if, that's the right way to get them to contact, or you can give me whatever, and we can put that in the show notes for everybody. I know that you guys have very busy schedules. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I really, really appreciate you both coming on the show to just kind of shed a little bit more light on this and the units for the golfers that are out there, for the trainers, the medical professionals. I'm sure we'll have a lot more questions coming from this episode, which hopefully Evan will be, and Dr. Deese maybe will be able to kind of filter some questions your way when we get them. But really appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us on the 18 Strong podcast.
Happy for the opportunity, Jeff. Thank you very much. Enjoy chatting.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having us on.
All right. Thanks for joining me this week on the 18 Strong podcast. If you want any more information on Imapct Cryotherapy, or if you're a trainer, fitness professional, medical professional, and you want information on possibly getting a unit in your town, in your facility, I'll have all that information in the show notes page. Just go to 18strong.com/cryotherapy, or just look for episode number 182. I'll also have links to Dr. Deese's bio and some of the other information, and even some literature on, some of the science behind the cryotherapy chambers. I'll have some of that stuff linked up for you as well that the guys from Imapct were kind enough to provide for me. I want to say a huge thanks to Super Speed Golf for, again, their support of the show, and also a huge congratulations for the work that they're doing and really the help that they're giving, not only guys and girls like you and me, but the Phil Mickelsons of the world, the Charles Howells of the world, all the professional golfers that are just singing praises from the rooftops about the Super Speed system. So again, go to superspeedgolf.com, use the code 18strong there. And I want to remind you that we have a great video series that we put together because of all the questions that we've gotten from so many people over the past several years on, how to get started with a fitness program, how to stick to a fitness program specifically geared towards your golf game. And so we put together our video series called The Golf Fitness Roller Coaster. And really, it's just me talking to you about kind of the values that I have, the things that I put into a program and why I would put them in there, and the main things, the big rocks that you need to think about when you're thinking about a fitness program, and maybe why you've struggled with sticking to something for, years and years and years and never have reached that goal that you have been wanting to reach. So go to 18strong.com/roller coaster and you'll get all 4 videos for free. Just put in your email address and we'll send those right to you. All right. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you supporting the show, and we will catch up with you next week on the 18 Strong podcast. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.